Hey y'all, welcome to Soccer for Us. This is Bart, and on this episode, I am talking all about the U.S. men's national team winning the Concacaf Gold Cup, beating Mexico 1-0 in the final, and winning the second trophy of the summer in these Concacaf tournaments. It is a day to celebrate. It is a day to rejoice. It is a day to gloat a little bit. And to do that, I am bringing back onto the podcast a man who has been digging at Mexico fans for months, the purveyor of USMNT Corner on Twitter, Caleb Cook. Caleb, thanks for joining me again. How'd you sleep?
I wish I could say better, but I got a little sleep. I got a little bit. I'm still alive, so I'm plugging.
Yeah, we just so you know, we are recording on Monday, so we watched the U.S. beat Mexico in the Gold Cup final, and then woke up for an Olympic match. And we will not be talking about that because we're not going to talk about bad things. We will have a whole nother episode to talk about that. For this one, we're talking about Gregg Berhalter and the boys getting a 1-0 win over Mexico in the Gold Cup final and a stadium in Las Vegas that was, I swear, like 95% Mexico. I think we had the American Outlaws and the other supporters groups, and that was about it, who was wearing the red, white, and blue. Everyone else was cheering for Mexico. One of the most intensely hostile atmospheres this U.S. team has played in, I don't know, since maybe the last World Cup qualifier against Mexico. But they come out victorious. Your very first thought about it when, just all encompassing what you think about winning the Gold Cup and what it means.
Well, going into it, I had tweeted a few times, just kind of perspective, like if we lose, then whatever, it is what it is. The whole tournament has been successful to a certain point, just kind of almost like sandbagging, but not with like a false type, like it was legit, like legitimate.
Yeah,
it's okay. You know what I'm
feel
saying?
Like a lot of U.S. fans were that way of like, we have accomplished more than we really thought we would. Now, granted, I think we said on this podcast that making the final is the goal for every U.S. team that enters a Gold Cup. So, I mean, for me, you did the thing you should do. You made the final. It was going to be a very tough task against a Mexico team that is, whether they want to admit it or not, a very strong Mexico team. And a U.S. team that was featuring, I don't know, a handful of guys who, up until this point, had been considered, a 23-man lock. This was a shock. I will be quite honest that this match not only ended 1-0, but that the U.S. got the goal the way, like, so late into the game. I did not expect this to be 1-0. I really thought, I honestly thought we'd lose like 2-3-1, and I'd be like, you know what? Okay, look, we got a goal. Mexico's really good. They've got some really good talent. And going to World Cup qualifying, taking away that, hey, we've got a couple of players that we can add to a 23-man squad or whatever, 30-man roster for World Cup, whatever it's going to be for World Cup qualifying, but at least that 23-man match day squad, and go, I feel confident. I feel good. But that changed. And I got to be honest, my first thought was, now there's more pressure on this team to do well in qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely. I think going back to what you said a second ago, expecting to make the finals. I think if you look at, I think everybody can look at this and say, our first choice 11 is a step above general CONCACAF competition.
Absolutely.
But then when you look at our second and third choice guys, you expect them to be on par, or if not just a tad bit above, normal CONCACAF competition. When I say normal, I'm not talking about Mexico. I feel like USA and Mexico are both a cut above, quote-unquote, generic CONCACAF competition. So to say going into this that we're only looking to experiment and find players is a little bit of a misconception. And I guarantee you that the players didn't think that. I mean,
no, absolutely not.
We watched the behind the crest videos and the way they're talking to each other and believing. They absolutely wanted to win this tournament. But I think for us, it was do what you're supposed to do, get to the final, because that's kind of, that's the bar. And then whatever happens based on playing Mexico's fairly, almost full strength squad. Whatever happens, happens. And like you said, the performance that we put in, I think it does give us a little bit more pressure going into World Cup qualifying. But that being said, we also have a wave of confidence that we're riding into World Cup qualifying as well.
Yeah, I think that's both. You're right. Yes, there's more pressure, but there always was going to be pressure on this qualifying cycle. But now there's like, okay, well, you did it here and here, so let's go.
You're following a cycle that could do it. So absolutely, there's 100% a ton of pressure.
But to your point, the confidence level has to be sky high because those guys in Europe, Pulisic, Reyna, McKinney, Adams, watched this Concacaf Gold Cup final and were just probably more emboldened by like, oh shit, we're good. And I think there's that mentality. So before we, continue to kind of pie in the sky, just, 3,000 foot view, if you will, of all this, let's talk about the game a little bit specifically. Again, U.S. gets a 1-0 win. It is a very, very late goal, 118th minute, scored by a guy named Miles Robinson, who, in my opinion, and you can't tell me I'm wrong, is the greatest soccer player in the history of America. I'm just, right now he's the greatest soccer player in America. He's the greatest soccer player, maybe in the world, galaxy, universe. I don't know. He's amazing. But the U.S. gets the win. I will say the criticism I have of this game, and it's the criticism I continue to kind of have about Berhalter, is we got dominated by Mexico in a lot of areas, right? Mexico had 64% possession. They had 22 total shots, only 5 on goal. Not bad. We fouled the absolute crap out of Mexico, which doesn't bother me that much. I had 11 corner kicks. Every metric showed how much they dominated this match. But we weathered every storm that they concocted. And at the end of the day, we were, I think, and this continues to be a trend, I'm glad we're seeing it again, a trend of USA-Mexico matches. The U.S. was just mentally more resilient and determined than Mexico when things weren't going their way.
Yeah, I think going into it, everyone would have expected Mexico to control the ball, control possession.
They had been the whole tournament, and honestly, they did, and they should have.
With the roster that they brought and the pressure they put on themselves after losing the Nations League, thinking, okay, well, we can't lose 2 during the summer, so let's go all out and let's win this Gold Cup. They should have, and they did. But as Atlanta fans know, possession doesn't really mean much. I thought we did a really good job of. I'm not going to say that it was a full out just press. It was almost like an honest press. And when I say that, I mean it was a press enough to keep Mexico honest. And I don't mean like it was like a half-hearted press. I just mean it was like a sporadic press. Like there were moments where we would sit back a little bit, have numbers behind the ball, but then there were also moments where it was almost like a full-out press. And I think that kind of threw Mexico off a little bit, because they couldn't just play with the ball in the back, and they didn't know what to expect. Like, oh, they are coming after us. Yeah. And I mean, and it showed. We had several chances off of winning the ball, creating some pressure for the back line and created some turnovers. And honestly, that's credit to Gregg, which I'm sure we'll talk about Berhalter a little bit later. But that's right there out of the gate, having that really, really hard press, setting the tone early, is something that was absolutely orchestrated. And like I said, I think he deserves credit for that.
Yeah, one of the stats that really did stick out to me that I didn't really think of before I looked at it this afternoon was that we actually had more steals than Mexico did. We had 20 steals to their 16, according to Concacaf stats. And to your point, there was a very consistent press, right? It was, or sporadic maybe, but it was a consistent, like, okay, we're going to press you now, or we're going to sit off. And that caused Mexico problems. It wasn't just 1 or 2 players. It was okay, now we're doing it for this, or no, we're going to sit off because of this. And those triggers were well communicated and well executed. And that definitely put Mexico under pressure building out at the back, because I do think actually this Mexican team struggles a little bit when they are under a little bit of pressure in the back line and they have to actually make a tough decision with the ball at their feet. I think a lot of people allow them to, and we saw this with Canada, right? Canada was like, yeah, we're going at you. And I think that's going to, that should improve when Mexico gets their better players back. But the level that they have now versus the level that they're, quote, getting back or would have for qualifying, there's really only one or two guys that are going to be huge difference makers.
Exactly.
And really, one of them is Raul, and the other one's Diego Lainez. But
they're not playing out of the back anyways. They're on that
right, exactly. So, I think this is one thing where Mexico has shown a little bit of weakness. And the U.S. recognized that. I think definitely recognized it from the Canada game, and it said, "Okay, well, fine, we'll do that." We definitely were very content to sit back, though. We definitely were not against saying, "Okay, you have the ball." I was a little frustrated at times at how low our block got and how compact we were. Our striker was basically playing a yard in front of our midfield block, and that to me was frustrating when we would try to clear a ball and we'd head a ball 20 yards upfield, and Zardes is like, "Well, I'm next to you all." But again, it was a very concerted mindset of this is what we're doing. And at the end of the day, I think that's the biggest takeaway I have from this entire summer is the buy-in and commitment these guys have and what Berhalter has created from a culture standpoint in this locker room, because the tactics aren't there yet. I will be 100% like, if you're telling me that this is the ideal form of Berhalter ball, that's a lie. This is not how he wants to play. And I'm sure he would tell you that. But at the end of the day, he got a win with the guys that he chose, and he hamstrung himself a little bit. There were some guys that he could have picked over some of these players, but to be fair, also this was a little bit almost the cards we were dealt. He just picked the best ones he could, and got a trophy with basically a whole different set of players than he did in the Nations League.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest complaint I think that most would have with Berhalter is his player selection. But at the end of the day, we can all sit there and cry and moan and complain on Twitter about his player selection, but if he's getting the results, there's only so much you can say, and I'm guilty of it. I have been very vocal about, why is he playing or selecting these guys versus these guys, and we all do, we all have. But again, he's picking his guys, and he knows a lot better than we do because he's in these camps, he's in these training sessions with these guys. He knows what he's doing, and I'm saying this based on results. I don't know, right? But he clearly knows what he's doing, because these guys are. I mean, they're giving like you said, they're giving everything they have for this man. So, and I'll still continue to be critical. I will 100%.
You have to be. Look, Gregg is not perfect. No manager is perfect. You need to criticize, especially when it comes to player selection. There are times that he definitely does pick the wrong players. I think this is a valid criticism of him. There are times that
he should have brought more wingers. 100%.
Yeah. That would have been super helpful with this tournament, but he figured out a way to win with the guys that he had. And that alone is an important quality of not only Berhalter, but this team as a whole. And they figured out a way to win. What else from this game do you think that we can take that kind of you can extrapolate to World Cup qualifying down the road?
I think the first thing that jumps off the page is the individual performances.
We can talk about those later.
Okay.
Let's save that for a little bit later, because I do want to talk about literally almost every single individual on this roster. I do want to talk about them.
And we need to, for sure. I think the level of competition that we faced, a good Mexico team, it's absolutely a fantastic test for what we're going to see when we're not necessarily World Cup qualifying, but let's say we qualify and we get to World Cup 22. There's going to be a level of competition that we're going to face that is beyond the El Salvadors and the Hondurases of the world. And I think Mexico is the only team in our region that's going to give us that competition. And having 2 finals against them this past summer with a large selection of players getting that experience, I think is invaluable.
Yeah, and again, that was the goal of this Gold Cup from the beginning, was to get a new group of players associated with Berhalter's system and prepare them for World Cup qualifying. And job done there. The second job was at least to make a Gold Cup final, and then you wanted to win it. So those goals are ticked off. I do think, again, I'm a little still concerned that, and I know this was not a first choice team, but the only team that we've really dominated in this tournament, and we looked clearly better than, was Martinique, beating them 6-1. Haiti, I think we looked a lot better than them, but we didn't show it the way that we needed to, and literally that means on the scoreboard. That is a little concerning because you look back at Nations League and we struggled with Honduras greatly. We definitely did not dominate Mexico in any facet other than when we beat them 3-2. It is I'm a little concerned about that, but I'm also taking the positive of, Gregg and this team knows how to get a win in hostile environments or in tough situations or in games that matter.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is the fact that they're doing it in their first experiences with that, right? I mean, you got to think that half the rock, even our first choice 11. I mean, those guys, that was their first taste.
Yeah.
So the experience that they're getting from the first player on the depth chart to the 40th player on the depth chart,
right?
They're all getting to experience that, and I think that's going to serve very well going into World Cup qualifying, going down to this hostile environments, and I think that gives us a leg up. Not only do we see this talent that's coming through, a wave of talent like we've never seen before, but they're already playing in big games club-wise, and they have played in big games now internationally. So
yeah.
It's this summer has been everything you could have asked for, and probably more.
My biggest takeaway from the biggest positive I have, not just from this Gold Cup final, which was a positive in itself, but the whole summer, was you look at the teams that we've faced, most of them are octagonal teams, right? Most of them we're going to see in the octagon, right? Yeah. Beat Honduras, beat Mexico twice because they're not good, beat Costa Rica and a meaningless friendly, but dominated Costa Rica and a second choice 11 friendly.
Yep.
Haiti, not an octagonal team, one that's like right on the outside. So a okay team. Okay. They're fine. Martinique, not great. Sure. Not seeing anyone of that. Like everyone we'll see in the octagonal is going to be bigger than that. Canada beat them. They're definitely going to be seen this fall. Beat Jamaica. See them this fall. Qatar is a team that is of a quality level that we will see in qualifying, right? Like obviously we won't see them in qualifying, but they are at a quality where it's like level. Right. They are, to me, consistent with what we expect out of Costa Rica, Honduras type play.
Absolutely.
They were good. Then, they were good. We got a little lucky to win that game, to be quite honest. Matt Turner stood on his head, but we won. And then you go and beat Mexico in the final. So that's a lot of teams. I mean, specifically in this tournament, getting through 4 in a row, teams that are in World Cup qualifying. I'll just put Qatar in that because they won the Asian Cup and they're not going through qualifying because they're hosting, but they're a level of a team that we will see in World Cup qualifying, and we beat 4 of them in a row. That is impressive. On top of the fact that we haven't lost to a Concacaf team since that. Since that Mexico match since the Canada match back in October of 2019. Yeah. We're on a tear through CONCACAF. And again, you talked about momentum earlier. That's positive.
I mean, honestly, I can't wait to see a mix of these guys because the absolute dream 23 or 30, whatever the roster size is going to be. I think it's 28 or something.
I don't think there's not really a limit. It just depends on what Berhalter wants to have. The thing is, you have to have 23 guys for every match day. So
right there, yeah. But
then you
can only name 18 to the bench, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you only have 20. Yeah. You only have the 18.
Your camp can be as many.
Right.
But the thing
is, let's put a constraint on it. We do have to put it like I'm not thinking Berhalter is bringing more than 30 that are actually going to be let's not get crazy here.
Well, and there's no reason to.
No.
But the way I look at it is, I think there's going to be a good mix of the team that we saw, or the roster that we saw in Nations League and the roster that we saw with the Gold Cup. There's going to be a good mix. The reason why is because there's not going to be this utopian window where all the players are healthy, fit, in form, et cetera, et cetera. So there's going to be, a guy that you really, really, really want to see in September, but he's hurt. I think Musa's still probably going to be out,
Musa will be out.
Such a bummer.
He won't be healthy by September. Let's just put it that way.
It's such a bummer. But maybe you see an Eric Williamson now.
He plays a similar role to that. Absolutely.
Right. I don't know if Busio jumps in there, but like I said, we'll talk about individual performances later.
So I do want to talk about individual performances in this match specifically, because I think they need to be talked about. And then we'll talk about big picture individual performances from this tournament and kind of evaluate the depth chart, if you will.
Yeah.
But this match, let's talk about individuals, because a lot of great individual performances and a lot of individual performances that, to me, left a lot asking. But let's start at the top and work our way back, because I think we have a lot of good things to say about a couple of guys in the back line. So let's start with Gyasi Zardes. Personally, I thought Zardes played the same game we've seen Gyasi Zardes play for, 5 years now? But that wasn't a bad thing, because that's what we needed against Mexico.
Yeah.
I actually thought he was fairly decent when it came to actually having to either hold up the ball or connect play. The problem was he didn't have a whole lot of opportunities to do that.
Right, but when he got his opportunities, he did well.
Yeah.
He did better than I thought as far as the hold-up play. But the thing about Zardes, like you said, is what you're going to get from him. He's he's just a professional guy. Fantastic attitude. The guys love him. And he's going to go out there and he's going to do his job. Is he the most incredible striker we have? Not even at all. But you can't sit and watch last night and think, this guy has no place on this team. That's crazy at this point. There's a lot of people that still probably want to say that. But that's stupid. He absolutely deserves a spot.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this, and again, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but what you saw last night, what you saw from him from this tournament, it's clear to me that he is still in the mix as a striker, right? Because he's probably going to give you a consistent performance. It's not always good. It's very rarely really good, right? But the one thing he's very good at is movement off the ball and movement in the box. Yes. And you need that in CONCACAF when you may not get every single chance, but he's going to get open and find a way to get the ball in the back of the net on occasion. Yeah. We didn't see that last night, but again, the chances really weren't there. And he still made good movements off the ball. So Zardes, I thought if I'm giving him a grade, I give him a B-.
Yeah.
Right.
And I will say, one little caveat with the Zardes thing, he's still in the conversation for striker. And I don't want this to be like a negative thing about him, but it's more about the guys that we have available at striker versus him keeping himself in that position.
That's the frustrating conversation with Zardes. Zardes is at this level, and we're just waiting for some more than two people to be like, yeah, I'm better than him, and no one's really stood up and I am.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Right now, he is absolutely in the mix. Right. He's in the conversation. In a year, I don't know.
Yeah, we've got 2022 World Cup. Not sure.
Exactly.
But yeah, I'll give him a B-. I thought it was, again, above average. He did some things well. It's not his fault that he didn't, get all the work that he needed to, but I thought he was fine.
Yeah.
All right. So after Zardes, let's go to we'll stay positive. Matthew Hoppe, I feel like, was a pretty good performer this match. I really liked what he had all tournament, but this match specifically, it was he was one of the few creative outlets we had.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell he's got confidence. He's got a little cockiness to him, which I love, especially for how young he is.
Yes.
And he did. I mean, he's got some tricks up his sleeve. But the thing about Hoppe is when he gets the ball at his feet, he's thinking one thing, and that's going forward, beating the man. It doesn't matter who steps to him. He's not afraid, and I mean, he was an animal last night. He was all over the place defensively, moving. You know, are there things you want to see him get better at? Absolutely, but he's 19. So
he's 20, yeah. So he's got learning to go, and that comes like that. Honestly, that learning is going to come as he, plays at Schalke in a league that is a little bit more to a competitive level for Schalke as he continues to play in Berhalter's system. I think those things will come.
But way more to like than not.
The best part of his game was how much he annoyed Mexico the entire night, and I'm sorry, that is damn important.
Absolutely.
He's ready for Concacaf.
Mm-hmm. He's who it's a cliche saying, but it's like, you love having him on your team, but you hate playing against him. He is that player to a T.
And for that, I give him an A- because that alone, you mess with Mexico all night, you get props for that for me.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, so the other winger, Paul Arriola, and I have to say, I'm not casting Paul Arriola aside, but man, a lot of people could have done what he did in the attacking third. Now, was he really good at pressing and really good working back defensively? Yeah, but you're a winger, man. You got to do something in the attacking third, and missing 2 opportunities, missing the goal completely, that's inexcusable for me.
Yeah. I jumped on Twitter pretty quick after that. Just talking about all the guys that are going to finish that. I thought about it afterwards, and I'm thinking, man, Caleb, can you imagine you being in that situation? But then I think about the fact that, I'm not the greatest finisher, but I'm also not a striker or a winger.
Right.
I'm a defensive midfielder, and I have been pretty much my entire life. Outside back, defensive midfielder. So this guy's a professional winger.
Yep.
And to have that opportunity, and especially at that point in the game where I just saw it and I'm thinking, that's it. That was it. That was our chance.
It really did feel at that point that was going to be the one. And then the second one even more, I was like, dude, you're not going to get chances like this.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I'll say, based on his work rate for the rest of the game, the fact that we ended up winning, he kind of made up for it. He had some nice moments, but you know what you're going to get with Paul Arriola. So
yeah, his stat line wasn't terrible. A shot on target, a shot off the woodwork, and a shot off target, right? But again, it's the quality of chances there, and a couple of those, it's like, dude, if you just put that on target, who knows what's happening after that, right? Like the goalkeeper, because none of the they weren't shots that the goalkeeper was going to catch and save for the most part, right? They were going to be a deflection, a rebound, something was going to happen, and to not give yourself even the opportunity to put the ball on frame and it go in the back of the net, that was disappointing. But he did have, he had a couple steals. He worked hard in defense, and for that, he gets points. But for me, it was
he created a lot of opportunities. I mean, he in hindsight, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It wasn't all bad.
It wasn't.
For it, he had a decent game. If you don't say, hey, he hit the woodwork with a 1v1 on the keeper. If you leave that part out and you look at the rest of his body of work, you'd say it was a decent game.
Yeah, I give him a C-. I need a winger to be more, especially as pacey winger like he's supposed to be a little bit more efficient in front of goal. That's all.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so Paul Arriola, we finished our forwards. Let's talk about the midfield, which, was the midfield as a whole was a little weird last night because it was kind of getting overrun by Mexico a lot, but also at the same time, I felt like the midfield was kind of okay. So let's talk about Sebastian Lletget. I think for the first time ever, Gregg Berhalter actually took Sebastian Lletget off from a game in a meaningful manner. I didn't know that Greg knew how to do that. But I'll be honest, Lletget did not impress me yesterday, and he has not impressed me this summer. And to me, that's a little bit of concern because he's always been a consistent, like, cool, he's there. I'm not saying he's ever been good or bad, but it's like he's been really a consistently okay player. And this, like, especially in the Gold Cup when he was playing a lot more minutes and had a lot more responsibility, he didn't do it for me.
Yeah, Lletget's one of those kind of players, and I've said it before. He's the type of player that raises his game when there are better players around him.
Sure.
And when you put him, there's a reason, I guess is what I'm saying. There's a reason he's looked better when he's playing with the first choice 11, and you're like, oh, okay, he's serviceable, right? And then you see him with the second or third choice guys, and at this point, he's looked at to be one of the better players on the field, and he doesn't stand out.
Right.
And that's because he's not going to be that guy. And I think it's important for people to know that.
Right. So the problem is, in this roster, that was supposed to be his job.
Exactly. And the thing is, he just can't. He's not going to be that person. And I think Greg has finally realized that. But pulling him out, I wonder if that was more.
I think it was more strategic in terms of like, hey, get you off and put Roldan on, who's going to do the same thing you're doing, but with fresh legs.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of subs.
I'm not saying it was because he thought he was bad. It was just a.
Yeah, I think a lot of the subs were based on that.
Yeah, and it worked.
Keeping the legs fresh. Yeah, I mean that was one of the things that he did well. Greg, he did well. So, but Lletget, like I said, he was there. He had a couple good moments, a couple bad moments. It was one of those like. All right, okay.
83% passing accuracy for him, not bad. I will say the biggest kind of critique I'll have of him overall was set pieces from him are not good.
I mean, I don't understand why when Kellen Acosta is on the field, why is he not taking them?
Yeah, Kellen Acosta is much better at set pieces. Even the two corner kicks he had back to back where he went for goal, he tried to do the Olympico.
I feel like Kellen Acosta, when you're talking within the entire pool, I feel like Kellen Acosta is in the top 2 or 3.
That is an absolutely that's not even hot takey. Because I would say that on our first choice team, they weren't great.
Right. It's definitely not a hot take. He's quality.
Yeah. He can hit a set piece and
he can do it from the right or the left side, to be honest.
Right. So the fact that Lletget was just doing it over and over again and not doing it very well was very annoying.
Do you think it's a Berhalter thing, or do you think it's one of those he's senior guy on the field and he's taking him from Acosta? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that Greg said, Sebastian, you're doing this.
Yeah, I feel like it's from Greg, but I don't understand because Acosta's way better.
All right, next was Eric Williamson, who I felt was both really good and not great at all. And I think that's just who he is as a player.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, he loses possession a lot.
He does. But his passing accuracy was really good. He was 88% passing.
Yeah,
and passing fine.
The way I look at it is this: when you're an attacking winger, you're attacking 8. I don't always want you to play safe.
No,
I want you to try to take guys on. You look at Hoppy; he's younger, right? He's going to learn better. But there were many times where it's like, okay, definitely should have released that ball earlier.
Yeah.
But you like his confidence, and I feel like that's kind of where Eric is. He's very confident on the ball. He was very good. Made some nice defensive stops. You like what you're seeing from him, and I think the more Greg trusts him and puts confidence in him and gives him opportunities, the better he'll be, especially, playing with all these guys. Because you got to think, he didn't get to play with these guys nearly as much as Busio, Acosta, and Lletget. And, he had a good night. It wasn't the greatest. It wasn't the worst. He got absolutely annihilated from Hector Herrera's boot. and it was
he took a couple of shots.
It was apparently not a red card, which
should have been a red card. Should have been a red card. That I'm not like it's not necessarily that Hector Herrera meant to do that, but why is your foot that high up in the air?
I mean, seriously, if they hit
that is
top of his
to me
head.
The definition of serious foul play. Like you are flying through the air with your foot above your own head.
Yeah,
that's a red card. I'm sorry.
That was trash.
It's a red card. That I thought the referee was for the most part pretty decent. I know he gave Mexico every foul they wanted, but we also fouled Mexico a lot. So hey, but that was the one decision I was like, that was wrong.
How many fouls were there before there was the first? It wasn't like 23 fouls.
There were a lot of fouls. Yeah, he did not give a lot of cards, but that one was one where I was like, that's probably a red, bro.
Yeah.
Probably should have been. All right, so Williamson, we talked Williamson, we talked Leggett. Let's talk about Kellen Acosta. Last thing I do want to mention about Eric Williamson. 24 years old, getting his first appearances for the national team. I feel like it's a little late in his career to start coming into the zone like this, but I'm hoping that he gets these opportunities and continues to learn. Does that make sense?
Because there's another player that's kind of in the same situation that you and I probably love a lot. We'll talk about him later.
So, okay, Kellen Acosta. My rating for Eric Williamson, I'll give him a C+. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. It was a pretty average game with.
That's where I was at. C+, B-. That's where I was at. Yep.
I don't think he was necessarily. Yeah, he didn't help. He didn't hurt. I thought at times he was really good and times he was really bad. So C+. Kellen Acosta, though. I mean, look.
Hold on. I will say he played a beautiful ball to Sebastian Leggett.
He did. That Leggett
was just caught flat-footed, but that could have put us up 1-0 really early.
Another one, yes. That one was.
So I will say that. Sorry.
Maybe I'll give him a B-. Okay, fine. Well, but thank you for reminding me that. I'll give him a B-. Kellen Acosta, who I don't know, was up there for consideration of man of the match for me because you have to understand the player that Kellen Acosta is. He's not the tidiest on the ball. He's not going to always give you 100% passing accuracy. He's not going to, be your deep lying regista like Gregg Berhalter kind of wants in this position. But you know what he's going to do? When he's focused, he will run around that field and break up everything he possibly can.
Dude, he was everywhere. And I will say, when you've got a guy who's not going to make the safe pass every time, then you're not going to be, 86, 87, 88%. You're going to be lower because there's times where he does try to hit those like one-touch field switch, diagonals. Yep. Like it's a crazy thought. Sometimes it comes off, sometimes it doesn't. But I like that from him sometimes, depending on who we're playing with or who we're playing against.
Totally.
But you're right. I mean, he was an absolute menace.
I want to run through his stats because I think they're actually a really good stat line. Yeah. So he got a yellow card. Great. I'm okay with that for my defensive midfielder in a final. He has better get a yellow card.
He has been a Concacaf master of the arts this tournament.
Love it. Yeah. That's the most important stat for me. I'm like, you got a yellow card for not a stupid thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect.
Love it.
80% passing accuracy. Again, Kellen's never going to be a great passer of the ball. He still struggles a little bit getting the ball and turning upfield. Like it does take him a little bit. He's not Jackson Ewell slow, but he's a little, he's not as smooth. Mm-hmm. But 80% passing accuracy from that position is pretty good.
Yeah.
Right. Especially with the U.S. going long a lot. So, that's okay. That was good. 8 steals. I mentioned that we had 20 total as a team, and he had 8 of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, without even looking at the stats, you could say that he had close to half of them. I mean, because he was he was everywhere.
Multiple times, just breaking up passes or getting into a tackle and breaking up play. I don't want to give him like an A+. He's getting a solid A for me, though. Like he is if I think of why did we win this game, Kellen Acosta is one of those reasons, and gets the assist on the set piece. He took most of our corner kicks after we figured out Leggett wasn't able to take them very well, and we looked a lot more threatening on corner kicks after that. And the set pieces after he started taking them were a lot better too.
Yeah,
I give him an A. I thought he was one of the reasons why we won.
Well deserved.
All right, so now we get to move back to the defensive line, and we will talk. Let's talk on the right side, because I think this one was one that the right side didn't feel like Mexico attacked it as much. If I'm not, that's how I felt anyway. Is that how you felt?
Yeah, well, I mean, and you're also, when you have a guy like Tecatito, you're gonna go through him more anyways,
right? Totally.
And he just happens to be on the other side of the field,
right?
But yeah, I mean, there wasn't a ton asked of Cannon, but what was asked, he answered. In my opinion, he was solid.
He proves that he is a pretty darn solid player.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is continuing what I thought of him before this tournament.
And he is a vocal leader. He is an energy leader. I mean, his attitude, and he's smart. He's a smart guy.
Yeah. He is, of the guys who was on that field, the one who I felt like understood everything that Berhalter kind of wanted everyone to do.
Yeah.
And what I've seen from the behind the crest and the training videos, he seems to be a guy who he's not the McKinney like goofball, right?
Right.
He's just the guy that everyone really likes.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a nice guy, and he's very smart. He's very likable.
Yeah.
But I think because of that leadership, I would say that Gregg's probably still giving him the edge for that starting right back position.
I mean, again, the right back position, the discussion starts with where does Dest play on the field. But you're right. I think that, Dest is your starting fullback, period, and then everyone else is below him.
Yeah,
But I think Cannon is above anyone else when it comes to the not Serginho Dest option.
Right. Yep.
I thought he had a really darn good night. He comes off for Shaq Moore, but that was fine, because that was a very strategic sub of trying to just get fresh legs on. It wasn't a bad thing.
Having fresh fullbacks able to keep up with the onslaught of what Mexico tries to do. I mean, then they try to kill you on those wings. So
I give him a B+ only because he didn't have a whole comparatively, it was a relatively straightforward night for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we'll move to the other fullback. George Bello started. Our boy, born and raised here in Georgia, product of the Atlanta United Academy, professional player for Atlanta United.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he struggled at times, but not in a bad way. It was just because Mexico threw everything at that left side. I mean, there were times that they had 3 or 4 guys on that left wing.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like, and it's like you got Bello and Hoppy having to track back, or Leggett having to track back, and it's like, holy cow, there's so many people over here.
Yeah. And that being said, there were moments where it's like, oh God, this is not good. And then somehow he made a defensive stop.
Right.
There were times where there was 2v1 and he still made the stop. And I think
was the best I've seen George Bello defend. I'm not joking.
And you see, a lot of people were always like, oh, he's an attacking fullback. I think he is. I think he is a all-around fullback. His defense has gotten so much better over the last probably 12 months. He's growing. Yeah. He's growing into his body. He's still young, but he's a. I don't want to say he's a big boy, but he's not small. He's very strong. He's got a strong base. He's quick. He's fast, and he's starting to. And I don't want this to be a dig on Yedlin, but Yedlin has, for some reason, never been able to grasp the back post run.
Back post marking.
I don't get it.
No, it's not a dig on him when it's a fact.
It is what it is. But as a fullback, that is a cardinal. You can't miss those as a fullback. And Bellows seems to grasp positioning a little bit better.
I think Bellows played in systems that have made him understand positioning a little bit better.
And he's had a few guys who know a thing or two about playing left back. This is his coach for the last couple years.
This is true.
Yeah.
I'm going to give him a B, because I think that for being the second youngest guy on this team, 19 years old, going up against the best that Mexico could offer. I mean, Tecatito is I mean, he was, in my opinion, the best player. I know Hector Herrera won, but like he is the guy on this roster for Mexico, right? And I thought Bello held him in check most of the night.
Absolutely. Tecatito is he, and you can't look at it like, well, but yeah, he beat Bello a couple times.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
I don't care who you are. It's like when Barcelona played PSG and Mbappe
beat Dest, and you're like, yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, Dest is trash. No, it's
he got burned. Yes, by
my gosh, shut up, you know. And that's how that's how I look at it with Tecatito. Like he's gonna get you, you know. Like if you're matched up with Tecatito for 90 minutes, he's gonna get you a couple times because he's that good. But for the majority of that night, Bello, man, he put him in his pocket. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, I thought this was the best I've seen George Bello defend.
Mm-hmm.
He came out in the 66th minute for Sam Vimes. But yeah, overall, I thought it was really, really good. Very solid. I was very surprised to see him play the way he did.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go to the right center back with James Sands. I thought Sands did not have a great performance. I thought these last two games haven't been great. Him playing a true right center back role. I think we're learning that he's better in that center of the field. But I still thought he was okay. I thought that he and Miles both did a great job toward the end, especially getting balls out of danger. And, you know, his passing was a little off, but I think his awareness on the ball helped him in those situations of just finding that space of going, okay, it's going here instead of just blindly putting it somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Sands was really good this entire tournament. But as far as last night, like you said, it wasn't his best game. But that being said, he did the job. He had some shaky moments. There were a couple times it was his fault. A few times where he was put in poor situations and he still, you know, found a way to get out of them. He looks comfortable on the ball. Defensively, you know, is he the best defender we have? Probably not, but he's not bad. I liked what I saw from him, and I don't think he did really anything to necessarily hurt his stock. I'd give him a good, you know, he's probably in that B- C+ region.
That's kind of where I am. Is definitely like a B- of, hey, if you're a defender and you get a clean sheet, it's kind of hard to give you a grade below a B, right? Because you've absolutely done above average at that point in time.
Absolutely.
He also completed the most passes of anybody on the team. Not the highest rating percentage, but completed 59 passes, passed at 84%. So again, showed that he is still valuable in possession, right?
Yeah.
And I think that both Miles and Sands were good in possession, and Sands had some shaky moments, but like both of them were, in my opinion, I was like, okay, we are able to. In Berhalter's system, even when you're conceding so much possession or conceding so much space on the field, you're still trying to, in some ways, a lot of times, build out of the back because you don't just lump it forward. Now, did we do that a lot of times in this game? Yes, because you were under pressure. But the goal is to always still possess the ball and try to build from the back. And I thought that both of them did that very well, and Sands was a part of that.
Well, and he's shown that he can do it all tournament long. It's just a little more difficult to do it versus a Mexico, especially when it's your first time playing against them. So,
and to be fair to him, this will go, you know, like I said, B- for Sands will go to Miles Robinson. This was not Miles Robinson's first time playing against Mexico.
Right.
His first time was not great, but no one was great in that match.
No.
This one was a complete, for me, Miles Robinson was man of the match. I know Matt Turner had a great game, but Miles Robinson was a defensive monster and passed well. Everything you needed this man to do, he did it on that field against Mexico to get us that win.
He's an absolute freak. We see it. We're Atlanta fans.
We've seen his growth. Like, I'll be honest, he wasn't great in 26. Like, everyone's like, oh, Tata. I was like, y'all, he wasn't great in 2017 and 18.
Yeah, that bothered me. I tweeted it out, like, you know, let's chill out with this. People are acting like Tata snubbed him or something. Like,
no, he wasn't super awesome.
Number one, he wasn't ready. Number two, even if he was close to being ready or ready, he's not going to start over Parkey or LGP in those moments. It
wasn't going to happen.
So just like stop.
Yeah.
That bothered me. But Miles he was absolutely phenomenal all tournament long, and then he stepped it up another notch somehow.
He really did.
Last night, defensively, he was an absolute wall.
This poor man has to come back to Atlanta United.
Yeah, God. I mean, well, we need it. So there were times. There were times where you're thinking, "Oh God, they're about to," and then all of a sudden, it's like, where did Miles come from?
Winning aerial duels,
I
all of that.
Understand it. But so defensively, we all know that. But then, as Atlanta fans, we've seen him play with his feet, so we know. But I'm so glad that people finally are throwing that narrative in the trash about, yeah, but Miles can't play with his feet. Shut up.
He can.
He absolutely can. Yeah. He's comfortable on the dribble, and he's shown many times where he does that little, and I love it as a center back. You do that just a little head fake, and the attacker bites, and then you just drive right past him. And the only way they're going to stop you is foul you. And then he's right-footed or left-footed, doesn't matter. He's going to make that nice little penetrating pass into an 8, or even he's connecting with wingers. And he's shown that he can hit the lofted ball. I mean, there's so much to like about him, and I'm just going to be honest with you. If it's a World Cup qualifier tomorrow, John Brooks is my left center back, Miles Robinson is my right center back. Don't argue with me.
I know everyone wants Chris Richards, but this is my thought about Chris Richards is that, no offense to him, we have not seen that for the national team.
Yep.
Part of that is because he's been hurt a lot, which is a problem. But we haven't seen that for the national team.
Even in his appearances, he's had two appearances, and he just doesn't look comfortable.
Right.
And that's okay, because here's the deal: Chris Richards has probably the highest ceiling of any of our center backs. The guy can flat out play.
He's also 21. Miles has 3 years on him, so
exactly.
that's okay.
And that's the thing. Right now, he's not there. And people
want to go to El Salvador September 2nd.
Right.
That's the question, right?
Yeah. And that's the way I look at it. Miles is 100% my right center back next to John Brooks.
Yep.
That's a fantastic pairing. And who knows? I mean, John Brooks is what, 29, 30? He's 30? I think he just turned 30.
I don't think he's that old. Let's see. Hold on. I'll look this up real quick.
Look it up. He's getting up there for sure.
He is 28.
28.
He's born in 93. So, but he is absolutely the veteran and has for sure this World Cup cycle.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Hopefully 2026, he's still at that level.
The next cycle, he's going to be a little bit more aged, and Chris Richards can play the left center back position, and Miles can play the right. I mean, if I had those two guys, I'm still extremely comfortable.
Right. And that is the point about Chris Richards, I will say, is to be fair, Miles played left center back this entire tournament. So, hey, maybe he can play it too. But both of them now showing that they can do it, because Chris Richards does it at Hoffenheim on occasion. Mm-hmm. He does play left center back and a back three a lot of times. But still, hey, I'd be glad to see that Gregg Berhalter too. I wouldn't hate that. But Miles Robinson gets an A++ for me because he was fantastic. And it is, look, we are both Atlanta United fans, and we want our team to do as good as possible. They're not doing that really right now, but sell that man for a lot of money because he is worth it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the fact that he's not
– and we paid nothing for him. He was a draft pick.
Yeah, exactly. From college.
Yep.
I've been told that that's not the way to go anymore. You can't do it that way, but apparently can.
I mean, every person's player development path is different.
Someone said something. Well, he's too old though. He can't make the jump.
He's 24. That's actually a good time because he may not go to Chelsea.
Right.
He may not go to Dortmund. He may not go to even Lille. Right. He's not going to a league-winning club of the top 5 leagues. No. Mm-hmm. Could he go to Rennes? Could he go to a team in the championship? Could he go to a team like Newcastle or Everton or a team of that stature.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm overselling it. I'm blinded by my love for Miles Robinson and Atlanta United.
No,
I get that, but
I think you could drop him in. I mean, I sitting there. I'm tweeting at Spurs official Tottenham. I'm a Tottenham fan, and I'm tweeting at them because I'm just like, my God, I would love to continue watching Miles while he's in Europe. But the way I see it, he could have been in Europe a long time ago. He just didn't come up through those types of ranks. Right. He's having to make it a different way. Right. But he hasn't had an opportunity to showcase with international level of competition. Right. And he finally got his opportunity. And what did he do? I mean, he blew it out of the water. Right. And there are teams that are going to notice 100%. He'll be in Europe for sure.
Miles Robinson, A++, gets the goal, game winner. We go crazy. Like, honestly, I lost my absolute shit. Because I didn't really see who scored it because I was at a bar watching, and then I saw it was Miles. I was like, we as a collective were just like, what? Like, we could not handle ourselves. On top of the already just like not able to handle the fact that we had just scored against Mexico.
I had to be good. I had, for today's first day of school, I had both my kids. But I was just the fact that we scored and the fact that it was Miles. I was just kind of just dumbfounded, speechless, just sitting in my living room, staring at the TV, wondering, like, did that really just happen? I mean, I couldn't believe it.
It was a magical ending.
He couldn't believe that it happened.
No, he really couldn't. Also, smart of him to not take the shirt off.
Yeah.
I thought he had a yellow card, but he didn't. But still, smart of him to not take the shirt off. Yeah. He wanted to. He didn't. Maybe he didn't want to like totally recreate the Pulisic thing, but he probably should have. But I'm glad he didn't.
He didn't because he couldn't see where he was going, and he knew that if he started doing that, all these guys they were all mobbing him, and he was trying to push him away. Because otherwise, I think it was coming off for a minute.
All right, so we'll do a whole nother podcast just talking about how great Miles Robinson is if we want to. Let's 100%. Go to the goalkeeper, Matt Turner. I'm just going to say it. He gets an A+ for me, too. I don't think he was perfect all night. He had a couple of shaky moments. But, like, listen, if you're the goalkeeper and get a 120-minute shutout and a cup final, you get an A+ for me.
Against Mexico.
5 saves. Not a whole lot. 5 saves, though.
Yeah, he was solid. I mean, you saw the fact that, everybody wants to talk about how good he is as a shot stopper. And I mean, so he's incredible. And the one knock is, his feet. And
he has 2 knocks in my opinion, but yeah. Okay.
But the way I look at it, guess what? As a keeper, if you're not good at your feet, but you stop everything that's shot at you in your direction.
The trade-off is much.
Yeah.
I agree.
I'd rather him kick it long every single time just to have him in goal. But the thing is, can you have a goalie that can do both?
Right.
Who knows? I mean, we've got Zach Steffen, we've got Ethan Horvath, we've got.
We don't have David Ochoa anymore, so.
But the way I look at it, those 3 guys give me confidence to start any one of them. If you got a World Cup qualifier and one of them's not available, cool, throw the next guy in, no big deal.
Okay. Yeah, I Matt Turner is, I think, the best shot stopper we have.
Oh, yeah.
I think he definitely struggles with anything that doesn't involve stopping shots. I think that there were times that I'm like, dude, come off your line. Mm-hmm. Granted, he saved those goals, but I'm also very much thinking of that save in the Qatar match where like he made that amazing just like reaction fingertip save where I'm like, why did you not come off your line to get that?
Yeah, his reactions are like
his reaction saves are top tier.
They're ungodly fast. Like it's crazy.
It's the one thing I think that American goalkeepers do better than anyone else because that and usually balls in the air. Matt Turner's not as good, but like the American goalkeeper, this is my theory on it, but because I don't care if you've played soccer since you were 4 when you could start playing. You've played other sports as an American, right? All Americans have grown up playing multiple sports. And so Matt Turner being a baseball player, his reactions and reading balls on the ground and all that kind of stuff makes sense, right?
Yep.
That's a baseball. Those are baseball skills.
Yep.
And so that kind of thing pays off as a goalkeeper.
Yeah, absolutely.
I give him an A+. I still have concerns about his roundedness of a goalkeeper as a goalkeeper. But that I think those things are keeping him from Europe, because I do think that when you go to a European league, and I think he would fit in well in like England or maybe a league like that, you do have to be a little bit more commanding of your box and come get the ball and be a presence there that I don't think he is yet. But shot stopping is top tier, and that's what we needed tonight, and he stopped all the shots. So good for him.
And we gave him this entire Gold Cup. I say we, Greg, gave him the entire Gold Cup to show what he can do.
Right.
And all he did was show that he can do it, you know?
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, he showed that he has the confidence to go out there, and it doesn't matter who you're playing, Mexico in a Gold Cup final, he's up for it. And, I mean, like you said, A+, the guy stood on his head all tournament long. Fantastic tournament, fantastic game. Well done. Firmly top 3.
Yeah,
for sure.
It has to be said, and I'll say this for all the defenders, but we played 6 matches this tournament, conceded 1 goal, and that 1 goal was from a penalty kick. So pretty darn good. All right, let's talk a little bit about some of the subs that came on. Just real quick, we'll give grades as they come on. So Sam Vines, I'll give him the same as Bello. I think I gave Bello a B-. I think he was just as good as Bello in all that. Shaq Moore came on for Reggie Cannon. Again, whatever I gave Reggie Cannon, I think I gave Reggie Cannon a B+. I'll give Shaq Moore that because I think that he was just as good, right? And they played just as much, it felt like. So, you know, it's not like, oh, you only get a 5 because you played half.
Because it went 120 minutes. So,
absolutely. Gianluca Busio. Let's do Christian Roldan first. Sorry, he came on first. Roldan, I actually rate higher than Leggett. I think he did better things better than Leggett. And I think that if I gave Leggett a C-, I'll give Roldan a C+. I don't think Roldan does anything brilliantly, spectacularly, but he came on to do a job, and he did that job very well.
He did the job. One thing I will say about Leggett, and I think it's overlooked, because I've even overlooked it, but he's got a lot of minutes played this summer.
He does, and I think that has hindered him. He's been in every camp that Berhalter has called up since COVID.
Yep.
On top of playing in MLS.
And played in MLS. Yeah.
So I will give him that benefit of the doubt. And that's why I actually think him being on this roster was a little bit of a disservice to him. Yeah. Because give him the break, you know?
Yeah.
All right. So then we had – so that was Christian Roldan. Sorry. Now we'll talk – okay. Gianluca Busio. I will say didn't really influence the game that much for me. I don't think it was an upgrade from Williamson. I think it was fine. But I'm like C+ for me. I'm not writing Gianluca Busio off but this performance was not great.
Not at all.
But he's also the youngest player on this roster, so I'm not
exactly.
You know,
that's the thing. That's the thing. Busio is someone who has a pretty high ceiling. I think he's got a lot of skill, tons of talent, undeniable. But he showed his age. He showed his inexperience, and I think. You know, the Venezia rumors, if they're true, I think it's good to go somewhere, learn how to play quicker, learn how to play more physical, grow into your body a little bit more. Like nothing is negative. Like it's not that he was just trash.
No,
it's just,
and you see the positive.
You can just tell he's got a lot to learn, and you know I'm super pumped for Busio, but he didn't. He didn't shine as bright.
I think we put a lot of pressure on the kid.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
It's like, oh, he's 19.
Mm-hmm.
He showed it.
Yeah.
But he was still darn good at points, you know?
Absolutely. So. He had some very good moments. And I'll tell you one thing, though. He has got an absolute rocket for a shot.
That was the most disappointing thing he did last night was when he got that shot at the top of the box and it just did nothing. And I was like, dude, this is your range. This is where you hit it.
I feel bad, though, because it fell to him in a weird spot.
Yeah, it did.
He had to hit it with his left, and he wanted to come across it with his right, but, you know.
It was just that was the only disappointment, really disappointing.
All
right, last sub was Nico Gioacchini, who came on in the extra time. Yeah, he was the sub that came on in extra time, I think. Did I get that right?
The last sub was Kessler. for.
Oh yeah, that's right, Kessler. He came on right before the end he came on right before the end of regulation for Paul Arriola. That's right. Kessler was the last up because he was just a please don't score another goal.
Close it out. Well, Hoppy couldn't even move, and it was like, all right, come on.
I'm not even going to give Kessler a rating because he literally was on the field for like 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, but Nico came on in the 87th minute. There it is in my notes. And I thought was much more, again, influential in the match than Paul Arriola was. Mm-hmm. I don't want to give him an A because he didn't play enough and do enough to do that necessarily, but I'm giving him a B+. He still had great moments, produced positive things in front of goal and around the goal anyway.
He drew the foul that led to the
exactly, he did.
And I say drew the foul. It was an absolute tactical foul.
Right, but I mean, it was him.
But he puts himself in the situation to receive that ball. He turns, he gets past Alvarez, and Alvarez takes him down because he had no choice. Yeah. I like Nico. I think every time I've seen him, I like what I see. Is he going to be one of those just absolute star players for us? Probably not. Yeah. But we've talked about it many, many times. We're going to use 30, 40 guys over the course of World Cup qualifying, and he's 100% going to get minutes.
That's how I feel about him at this point, right?
Yep.
And we're going to go through the whole roster and kind of tick off who do we think plays in a factor in World Cup qualifying. But I think he's shown well for the most part every opportunity he's had. I think
he's never looked terrible or like he couldn't do the job.
Right. And in this tournament, he definitely wasn't playing his preferred position, and he still looked okay. So
yeah, absolutely. Got the assist with Zardes in the against Qatar.
Yeah. So I give him a B+.
Sure.
I think that's fine. Sure. Last grade, we're gonna give it to Gregg Berhalter. I feel like you got to give the guy an A+ at least. I mean, an A at least.
You have to. I mean, it's one thing for the Gold Cup, but to do that after the Nations League performance, like I said, the methods might not be what we all want, but the results are. We've all heard the saying, "There's more than one way to skin a cat."
Right.
I might skin a cat differently than Berhalter, but at the end of the day, he's shown that he can get it done. So.
I don't want to be negative right now because we're just we're celebrating the fact, but there are still concerns I have with Berhalter, but it's more of big picture things of, again, where I just don't think we've seen the final progression of truly possession-based team. Mm-hmm. And I think when we get into games where we try to do that, it's not as effective.
Right.
And that is something that he promised and is hired to deliver. But he's won 2 cups this summer. We've got 2 trophies coming back to Soccer House in Chicago. So he gets an A+ for me.
That's it.
I have nothing, I can't say anything bad about him right now because, in this moment, he got everything right for the most part of this tournament.
Yep. He passed the test.
So let's go through this exercise. We're going to go through the entire roster, all 24 guys, and you're just going to say yes or no to them being now in let's say the ideal 30-man pool for a World Cup qualifying window. Does that make sense? So not necessarily 23 because we know how that, but let's set it at 30 and say, okay, I can see this guy because basically that's almost 3 deep at every position, right?
And is this based on what we think or what we think Berhalter will do?
Sure.
Because I feel like that would, because for me,
let's operate in reality.
Okay.
But also understand that we're making our opinions the way we make our opinions.
Okay.
But operate in reality, if that makes sense. Okay. So we'll start from the top. Matt Turner.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
No doubt.
I mean, I think he said it, he's at least a top 3 goalkeeper. I think he cemented that, and that's great. We have 3 goalkeepers who I don't know who's our number 1, but we have 3 guys who I trust in the net.
Absolutely.
Sean Johnson.
No.
Brad Guzan.
No.
Thank God, no. Please don't have pull Brad Guzan from us anymore. Although, but that's not a conversation for this podcast. Yeah. George Bello.
Yes.
So I'm going to put Bello and Vines in the same category of yes, because no one else is going to play left back behind Anthony Robinson. Yeah. And they're just as good at there's not a big differentiating factor between the two.
Right.
So, yeah, I put Vines and Bello in that same category. I was like, yeah, because who else is going to play?
Yep.
Who else is playing left back? You know,
Exactly. I mean, yeah.
So that's where I feel about that. Hold on.
I think Robinson, Vines, and Bello are your top 3 left backs right now.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so moving on, let's go to who is next? James Sands.
Yes, absolutely. Center back, he can probably spell Adams or Acosta at the 6 if he needed to. He's shown versatility. Absolutely.
So I think Sands gets in. I don't think he's a top 3 really at any of those positions necessarily, but he's the guy where I'm like, if someone gets hurt and I need a center back, I think I bring him in. If Tyler Adams is hurt or Acosta isn't available,
right,
I want to bring in James Sands because he basically played that position in that Martinique game. So,
well, he allows you to bring an extra midfielder if you want, because
right,
you can play him at the 6 if you need to. You can play him as a center back if you need to. So, yeah.
I don't think he's in the center back depth chart to start. I don't think he's top 3. But again, I think if there are people hurt, and I think being in MLS does help a little bit because
he's right there.
So that will give him an edge over a guy like Eric Palmer Brown or Kramer Carter Vickers or guys like that.
Yep.
Okay, so next one is we already talked about Sam Vines. Henry Kessler, for me, look, he's 23. There's still time, but not right now.
Yeah, he's on the bubble.
I don't even think he's on the bubble, to be quite honest. I don't think I don't mean to be mad, but or mean about that. But it's just like if you're talking about a guy who can play center back, you're talking about John Brooks, Chris Richards, Miles Robinson, Mark McKenzie, Walker Zimmerman.
Yeah,
that's 5 guys.
Zimmerman, we don't know how long he's going to be hurt. Long's hurt. The reason I say he's on the bubble is because of the Berhalter part of it. He clearly he just got called in here. He clearly rates him somewhat. So
yeah, I think the inclusion here is because we lost a center back and they needed a center back, and he's the only guy who was really on that preliminary roster had any sort of experience in the system. So I don't read too much into his inclusion, but I mean, bubble if we have a couple injuries, maybe sure. But I don't think he's coming in he's not being relied upon. Any stretch. Reggie Cannon.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he's at least top 3 right back, maybe the second choice to Serginho Dest. That's it. Donovan Pines.
No chance.
Yeah, fine. Miles Robinson.
100%.
Yeah, I think, and he played himself into that position. He was not in that position before this tournament.
Miles Robinson's stock rose more than any other player's stock.
I 100% agree with that.
And it's not because he was just better than everybody else. It's because he had no stock.
Right.
I mean, everybody
was very, very low. The only time,
they were already calling for Matt Turner.
Yeah.
Sands, people have been talking about for a little while.
Yeah, and I don't think Sands performed to the point where his stock is
exactly.
way
and
up
he
here.
didn't.
No.
And he didn't exactly. But no one was talking about Miles Robinson before the tournament.
Yeah, I agree. He's the biggest stock up guy from this tournament, in my opinion.
Yep.
Last defender, Shaq. Well, not the last one. We talked about Walker Zimmerman. I think he's there, but he's hurt, so we don't know. But Shaq Moore.
Yeah, I think he did enough. If you we talk about Dest being the best right back, but if we're playing him on the left, which we probably will several times, you got Cannon. I think Shaq Moore is right there.
I think Cannon's comparable to Yedlin. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's any real difference. I think Moore was a little bit better defensively.
Exactly. That's right. I think I give. Yeah. And I was always a Yedlin, fan.
Yeah, I mean,
there's not a lot to hate about him, but I give the edge to Moore, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be upset if Shaq or Yedlin are on a roster for a train. It is what it is.
Yep.
All right, Walker Zimmerman's in it, but again, not sure what his injury actually the time frame is, right? And so that is something to look for. But I'm putting Walker Zimmerman definitely in the group of 30 because we're getting
30 can do it early on,
right? Especially because again, MLS guy.
Mm-hmm.
If you need him, he'll be there.
Yeah.
All right, into the mid. We've got 8 guys who could make a 30-man roster right now. I think we're getting a little too ahead of ourselves, but I think we're getting to the point where we're weaning out people. So midfield, we'll talk through that. Gianluca Busio. I don't think he's there yet. I'm sorry. That doesn't mean that he isn't good.
Yeah. And it's not that he won't be, but right now, no, he's just not there yet.
And he plays a weird position that we have a lot of people for.
He's too young right now.
Yeah, and he's not really a 6.
Right.
He's not really an 8, but he could play either, but he's not great at either. But there's a lot of guys in front of him in that 8 position.
Yep, agreed.
Eric Williamson.
He's close. But like you said, it's a pretty stacked position at the moment.
Especially if Gio Reyna comes inside and plays an 8, which a lot of people want to see.
I mean, I could see him getting called. He does a lot of things good. That's a tough one. He's right there. I could go either way on that one.
Sure. He might be top 40. So again, when it comes to depth chart, if people get injured or aren't available,
right, exactly.
Maybe close. He gets a call up. Right.
He's close.
Yeah. Jackson Ewell.
Probably never again.
He
played himself out.
Yeah. I mean, he did it himself.
He did.
He did not look great at certain times during Olympic qualifying.
Yep.
He looked really bad against Honduras and had his chance at the beginning of the tournament and then pissed it away.
I was about to say, Gregg gave him every opportunity, and he played himself completely out of the roster.
Yep.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. And I think the guy who maybe his stock rose second most, in my opinion, mainly because I think people got confidence in him, Kellen Acosta. For me, he's your second choice defensive midfielder.
Yeah, he's if Adams can't go, you're playing Acosta at the 6.
He can also play the 8. That's the thing. Like, he's versatile.
He can play right back. He can play left back. I mean, absolutely. No chance he's left off.
Yeah. And again, I think the thing that we have to remember as well is Tyler Adams is not going to play all 270 minutes in a qualifications window, right? Kellen's going to get starts.
100%.
Christian Roldan. I go no because I don't like him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't prefer him as a player.
Berhalter loves him, but I think, again, because it's such a stacked spot, he's just not quite there yet.
Is he better than...
He's just not there.
Yeah. Is he better than McKinney? And there are guys in Europe that we haven't really seen. Luca De La Torre. There's even like a guy like Christian Cappy. Mm-hmm. There are guys like, there's
guys in
Julian Green. There are guys in MLS that maybe are that. Yeah.
Maxim Pavlikov's coming back from injury.
Yeah. Tanner Tessman.
Cole Bassett.
Yeah. Caden Clark.
You got,
there's a lot of guys who are much younger.
Yeah.
Moses Nyan.
Moses Nyan is coming up fast.
Yeah. So there's just a lot of guys behind. Maybe this first window, but even then I'm just like, dude, if everyone's healthy, I'm not bringing you in.
Yeah.
And even if there are people that aren't healthy, I'm not necessarily bringing you in.
That said, he's 100% going to start a couple of these World Cup qualifiers because of Berhalter.
Yeah. Well, that brings me to Sebastian Lletget.
Yeah.
He's in. He was also in before this. So
he was 100% in. He didn't hurt himself enough. And again, like I said, when he's playing with the first choice guys, he fits in, and I'm okay with that. As long as once he does something just absolutely stupid,
which he's not that type of player,
and he's not exactly. Then it is what it is, and he's in.
But I'll say this too: we've have a lot of guys on this list, but several of these guys were already in that top 23, even, right? Because they were in Nations League, and I think the only one is Turner. But I think Turner got Gold Cup, and Ochoa got Nations League. So Turner, Lletget, Cannon, and Acosta, to me, were already in that.
They were already there.
Group, so I don't think they're additions necessarily.
Yep.
Now we'll get to the forward line. Matthew Hoppe.
Yeah, I think so. I think Gregg really, really likes him. He showed that he's got quality. He's only going to get better. He's super young.
Yeah. He's 20 years old. That just shocks me.
Oh, I know. And he showed that he's versatile. He played winger the entire time. And, his strongest position is center forward. And, I'd be comfortable with what I've seen. I'd be comfortable playing him both spots.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the problem for him is that no one has set themselves apart at center forward, and he didn't get a chance to do that this tournament.
Right.
But that left wing position that he played is pretty much on lock, right? You got Christian Pulisic, you've got Conrad De La Fuente,
Brendan Anderson,
maybe Brendan Anderson if that's where you put him.
Yeah.
So his only shot is at center forward, but again, that versatility helps, and
he'll have his shot for sure.
Right. I think he'll get plenty of opportunities in this World Cup qualifying cycle. Nico Gioacchini.
He's close. I think he's probably 4th or 5th on the center forward, maybe 6th.
I think he's 5th or 6th, and I think he's 3rd or 4th out on the right right now. Maybe 5th there.
You'd be looking at guys not available and injuries that would try to reach down that deep.
So I just say because he's playing positions that are exactly. But he's also 20. He can have your 20. So if it's not this cycle, there's a whole other cycle coming up.
When you've got a 20-year-old kid who's playing in Europe and you're talking about maybe he's left off, you're in a good position.
It's okay. Daryl Dike, who, in my opinion, had the most stock down at the tournament.
Yeah,
because he had a lot of chances. You cannot count his performance against Martinique as something necessarily that puts him over the edge of others because Martinique is a bad team.
Yeah.
Anytime he came against real competition, it was not good. Like, I don't even want to say like, it wasn't great. No, it was not good.
It was poor. Not only like were his touches and involvement's bad, but then the fact that he would just like literally disappear for minutes at a time. I hate it because I like him. And he's.
Well, the problem is he didn't increase his transfer value, so Orlando is going to keep him around, and that's honestly the greatest sin that he committed.
He'll definitely be.
He didn't do himself any favors to go to Europe. Let's just that's 100%.
I don't want him to be in the championship. If he wants to become the best player that he can be, then he doesn't need to be in the championship.
Especially not a championships team that's going to play the way they did at Barnsley and not even get promoted. You know,
that's all they're going to do is they're going to play to his strengths.
Yeah.
And we already know what he can do well. What can he do to help the U.S.?
Right.
And right now, nothing.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like he gets in, but I don't know.
I mean, honestly, if you're talking center forward, you got Josh Sargent, Matt Hoppy, Zardes, Ricardo Pepe's on fire.
Pepe, Ferreira,
yeah. That's why it's just like he's dropped below those guys for me.
He's dropped far. I don't know if he's dropped farther than Pepe and Ferreira.
I don't know, but Pepe is on.
I also haven't seen them in camp, so that's the other. That's the real differentiating factor for me.
True.
But Pepe, he's he's playing real good.
He's on fire, and we need the cap. We need the cap tie. Come on, bub.
Yeah, I'm not going to put him in the roster yet.
Yeah, no,
I'm not going to put DK.
Oh, you can.
I'm not convinced yet. A guy who, again, I think played himself out of this, Jonathan Lewis. Who I mean this sincerely. I don't ever want to see Jonathan Lewis near a U.S. roster because why of all the positions that we needed to bring, like he's so far down the depth chart now, like.
You know me. I talk about the fact that I don't like trashing players, and I'm not going to trash him. He's a Georgia guy.
He's a Georgia boy. All that much, yes. Good for you being from Georgia. Born and raised in Atlanta, or born in Atlanta.
He's not even starting for Colorado.
No. Who? It's not bad. They're okay, but like you're not starting for your MLS team, man.
I'm wondering, like, what the deal is with Mueller.
Mueller must have told Gregg that he doesn't like his haircut.
I guess. I don't know. Probably he said he didn't like his shoes.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah.
But there's just I don't know.
Or because clearly the transfer thing wasn't going to keep him there because he had already that had probably been in the works for a while.
He was already in the works.
Pre-contract for Hibbs, right?
Yeah.
Hibbs?
Yeah, it's Hibbs. Yeah.
Hibbs, thank you.
And that was already happening for sure.
Yeah.
So.
And it's not during the summer, so he didn't I don't know why that was.
Right. It was a waste. It was
it was a waste of a roster spot. It really was. Next one, Paul Arriola. For me, he's not in it because, again, when you look at the right wing position, Gio Reyna, Tim Weah, Nico Giacchini maybe, Conrad De La Fuente maybe, who can play on either side.
You got several guys that can play both sides.
And it's just
Aaron's can play both sides.
Aaron's can play both sides. It's just
I'm going to say that we will see him because
I know.
Yeah, I mean, if it was me, no, but
Yeah. All right, I'll put him on the list because you're right. We will see him. Begrudgingly.
We keep it real here. We keep it real.
All right. Last one is Gyasi Zardes.
Yeah, he's in there, and again,
I think he is.
It's less.
He may have been in before this tournament.
I mean, he probably was.
Because if you're talking top 3 strikers, Gregg loves Gyasi Zardes, and it's because Zardes does the same damn thing every game. He is consistently what he is.
Yeah. I mean, you know exactly what he's going to do. You know exactly what he's going to give you, and again, it's not necessarily because of what he does so well. It's because there's just no one that has beat him at the moment, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it comes down to is no one has taken the striker spot and made it their own. And that's concerning.
I think it'll change over the next 12 months.
I think Sargent is about to do it. I really do, because I think if he can play for Werder Bremen in a league that he can actually score in, I think that will help him.
He gets a move.
That too, but
which there's tons of rumors. Him, Hoppy,
Yeah,
I think there's a very real possibility that Sargent, Hoppy, Pifok, and probably Pepe all pass Zardes this year.
And I'm okay with that because I think, again, Zardes is the floor. It's a decent, okay floor, but that is the bare minimum you have to do. So if guys are doing that, then I'm okay with that, right? Like, nothing against Zardes. This is what he is. I just want people to surpass that level.
It is what it is. Yep.
All right, so we added 9 guys to the guys who were in Nations League. I do think there are a couple from Nations League that we'll never see again. Tim Ream, probably never again.
Yeah.
And Jackson Ewell, never again. Right.
Yep.
So there is still some room for some players who might be added. But I think the 30-man roster is pretty set. I do think, again, I mentioned Luca De La Torre, mentioned Conrad De La Fuente. I think those are guys who can absolutely work their ways in. Julian Green is another one that I'm actually really disappointed he didn't choose to play in the Gold Cup because I felt like he could have really made an impression on both Berhalter and the fan base again.
Yeah.
Those are guys who I think we'll get some looks at. And then there are some in MLS that we mentioned that are pretty darn good that hopefully we continue to see grow. But I think we've got 30 to 35 that we can count on for a World Cup qualifying cycle, for a window anyway. And I think that's deeper than any other nation has right now in Concacaf.
Well, and it's deeper than we've ever seen.
Absolutely.
Which is a really cool place to be.
Well, any last words on the Gold Cup win on the summer for the U.S. men's soccer team?
Now, just what a wonderful way to cap the summer. I mean, couldn't have scripted it any better.
Listen, 2017 was terrible. It is not completely absolved. It is not, because there is a job to be done that is more important than winning a Gold Cup or a Nations League. But winning these 2 tournaments are great preparation for getting the job done in World Cup qualifying. And I think more so than the guys did when we won it in 2017 and failed to qualify, This to me is completely different because this was finding supplemental players to guys who already won Nations League, which is both Mexico and the United States marked Nations League as the A tournament for this summer. So don't give me this bullshit about what matters and what doesn't. We marked the Gold Cup as the secondary tournament. Both federations did. We won both tournaments, though.
Yep.
And we found 9 guys who maybe can fill in get a job done in qualifying. That is good for me. Also, we're now calling you Double L Tree. Sorry, that's your name now.
Yeah. And the other one is what? Dos Acero is now referencing
the whole summer. The whole summer.
Yeah.
Dos Acero summer. You know what? Thanks for playing at Mexico. You gave us really good games, tested us really well, helped us out in the FIFA rankings, going to get us a lot of points there. So appreciate you. Thanks for playing this summer. But the new kings of Concacaf are here, right?
There's a new person sitting on the throne of Concacaf.
Key is to keep it through World Cup qualifying. All right, Caleb, thanks for joining me. This has been a long podcast, but we had a lot to say because
it's okay.
We beat Mexico for the second time this summer.
Yep.
Shout out your Twitter and everything so people can follow you for your great takes on U.S. soccer.
Find me on Twitter at USMNT Corner, and my personal is Caleb Cook 1. Love to chat and tear it up with the L Tree fans.
Yeah, you've been good with that recently.
I never started.
No, you don't. They come at you. It's great. Well, again, follow the show at Soccer for Us Pod and make sure you subscribe to Soccer Down Here to get all that coverage. We'll have this podcast out this week, and then we'll have after the women finish up their Olympic campaign, we'll have a debrief of all that. But this was the Gold Cup, and it needed its own podcast to talk about the triumph over Mexico. U.S. men's national team beating El Tri 1-0 in the final in Las Vegas. They are 2021 Concacaf Gold Cup and Nations League champions. And the next time we'll see these guys is September 2nd against El Salvador, the first match in World Cup qualifying going down to San Salvador. So, Caleb, thanks for joining me. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I'm Bart. I'm out.